Python sucks, and why I use it. Recently, I was contracted to work on a Discord bot written in Python. I'm no Pythonista, but I partake in some Kool-Aid now and then. I know I've told this story a few times, but the greatest and easiest way to get karma, or whatever the Stack Overflow points are called, is to literally just ask Pythonista questions. Honestly, it's so good. Pythoners, Pythonistas, love it. What is more Pythonic? What is more Pythonic? I want to get back into Python just so I can ask more questions on Stack Overflow. But Python boasts of a lot of features like subpar performance, lack of static typing, forced indentation, and random syntactic. You can't start an article like that. Okay? You can't peek in an article sentence 2. Okay? There's no way the rest of this is going to be as good. These features would normally push me to a more respectable language, but this time I did not have a choice. Python is slow. Incredibly. It is 195 times slower than C++ by some metrics. Performance-wise, it lags behind the herd, falling below all of the most commonly used languages and being one-upped by every new project. Julia, Mojo, Nim, etc., etc. Yeah, Python is an interpreted language that is also single-threaded by design. The code must be compiled into a platform-independent bytecode while running. Bytecode is like machine code, but instead of being executed by the CPU, it is executed by the interpreter. Once the code is compiled, then the interpreter reads this bytecode to translate into machine code. Nice. Does Python must have a JIT, right? Actually, Pythons don't travel in herd. It has a JIT, doesn't it? Yeah, there's also what a great plan. But this is how any of your favorite dynamic languages work. Okay? You just remember, TypeScript is fake. Okay, for anyone making fun of Python, you're probably using TypeScript, which gives you the illusion of types on top of a language that doesn't have types. Okay? Well, not static types. There's still types. There's still clearly types in the language, and they know what the types are. They're just not going to tell you what the types are. JavaScript types are a lot like taxes in America. The government knows, but the government expects you to know it also, okay? That's how it goes. And if you don't know it, guess what happens? You're in trouble, okay? You better get it correct. One of the numerous reasons why Python is slow is because of its design. Since Python compiles and interprets code at runtime, it will always be slower than any binary application made in C++. Pretty much, long as you have effectively equivalent algorithms. I don't believe Python was ever meant to be a performance-based language, but many projects attempt to fix Python in this regard. Fair. Projects like Cython circumvent the language entirely by allowing C constructs to be sprinkled into your Python. This superset of Python compiles your code to C to increase performance. Although Cython is a very interesting project and a feat of engineering, it cannot be used to fully replace Python. Fair. A somewhat logical conclusion from the analysis of Python's performance is that Python sucks. After all, if something is slow, why would you ever want to use it? C++ is 195 times faster. Seems like C++ would be the obvious choice. It makes no sense to code in a language that produces slow products. I think I see where they're about to go with this. Python is fast. While Python boasts of these features I mentioned earlier, it's extremely fast in one regard. In fact, it's 75% faster than C++ when you compare the time needed to develop a solution to a problem. Where did you get this number? Okay, there's no way I believe any of this. Okay, because first off, Perl is winning. Okay, there's no universe in which Perl wins. Second off, there's no universe that I even know what TCL or Rex is. Lastly, there's no way that Lisp is on this list because Lisp is clearly used to tell other people that you program in Lisp. There's no way, okay? There's no way. This ain't it. This ain't it. There's no way. I don't believe it. Although Python scripts may not run as quickly as those written in another language, they can be developed much more quickly. This bar graph displays the median hours of code needed to create this a string processing program taken from this paper. I also believe that this graph was probably created in Python. To be fair, this graph was also probably created in Python. Do I feel like maybe there's a little bit of bias in this graph? Maybe. Tom's a genius. Absolutely. Tom's a genius. He writes in Perl. My experience. I was tasked with creating a Discord bot entirely in Python. I expected that this was going to be slow, a bit of a bummer, as my most recent project was an interpreter in Rust, and I was all about performant code designed in a sexy language. Rust, by the way. Rust. Oh, it's so sexy. Oh my goodness. Sorry. I won't do that again. Karen, I understand. I get it. I can see why you thought that was a negative. Okay? I just really got into it. Oh gosh, it's happening again. My Python development experience was limited to a few scripts and some competitive programming, and the thought of more Python failed to excite. Nevertheless, I trudged onward. This project soon turned into an eye-opening journey, something that normally would have taken 30-plus minutes in Rust fighting with the borrow checker, I'm still somewhat new, and grappling with lifetimes only took me 15 minutes. Development speed was incredibly faster in Python. This project became exhilarating. And I found a new love for programming. I was able to ship the product extremely fast, including time for testing. I completed the project so quickly that the client was impressed and gave me a generous bonus. It's actually a pretty cool story in the sense that there is something to be said about coming into a new language and being almost immediately productive with it. Do you know what I mean? There is something to be said about that. No matter what you feel about Python, being able to solve something immediately in a language that you don't know is a very rewarding feeling. Clients don't give bonuses. A clearly fake article, maybe. But like the same thing with Go. Go's another one of these things where you can jump into a Go program as long as it's not Gorilla WebSockets that only uses single variable names for everything and is completely confusing. But as long as you don't use that, like Go is also another one of these languages where you can just jump in and you can do something pretty quick. I like that. My Discord bot was built in Python, was probably slower than anything I could have built in Rust. Rust has a ton of amazing language features that I could talk about for days and performs on par with C++. So, did I create a slow product that was doomed to fail? No. To be frank, you cannot notice that it is slow. I was able to build a fully working product in a speedy fashion. I loved doing it. And the customer loved the product. To me, this is a W. This is the truest W of all programming. Except for, of course, the actual truest W, which is to be able to tell people what language you program your projects in. But second to that, a second lesser-known fact, almost equivalent to the Sicilians, is love it and have the person who paid you to love it, right? If you can do those two things, you really are a winner, okay? That's how you're going to get money. Something like Rust wasn't necessary for this use case. This kind of project shined a new light on Python for me, as well as other languages like Go. I have heard about Go's ability to ship fast from Melky Dev. Let's go, Melky. The milkman himself is just making random appearances. I love to see this. But I never realized why that could be, oh my goodness, but I never realized why that could possibly matter. After all, I can develop in Rust fast enough, and when I finish the Rust project, it will probably be more performant than the Go or Python project. The milkman keeps winning. He does. I was completely blind to the experience of developing in a language that is designed to ship fast. This experience has changed my perspective on programming languages, and I hope it will change yours too. Okay, so I'm going to make a really, 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 really hot take. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think TypeScript was a mistake. I'm even going to tweet that right now. Now, let me defend my reason why. Is that with Python, as you develop Python, there comes a point in a project where you go, this is really hard for me to understand. The types, everything, I'm kind of falling apart. Maybe a different language should have been chosen. Now, the same effectively happens with JavaScript. Like, you wouldn't build an entire tool or all those things in just JavaScript because eventually not having type definitions and all that, it really should just limit the size of the program. It really puts a great scope on the program. This is what you do it for, and this is why you do it. It's like this nice scripting language that actually, that is good. But by adding TypeScript to it, you can now enterprise it, which means that you can now write bigger and larger programs. And now you can build all the programs you've ever wanted, perhaps in a language that's not good for building those programs. And maybe Python's the same way. I know Python has type annotations now. You can kind of sprinkle them in here and there. But I'm sitting there thinking, maybe, just maybe, it was a mistake this entire time. And I had no idea, and it was sitting right in front of me. I just had this thought right now. I know. It's because of this article. This article made me rethink about maybe I have gone wrong. Maybe, just maybe, I have gone the wrong way. Agree with DHH? Damn it. No, I retract my statement. It makes me potentially agree with DHH. I know too many developers who are stuck in their ways and refuse to learn or use new languages because they are slow or bad. Yeah, I hate that. You shouldn't refuse to use something for that reason. I always say that Python is fantastic at creating graphs and CSVs, and it should be definitely used there. People that are trying to make other languages work with ML are kind of crazy because clearly all the ML parts are all in C. They're all super fast. All the not sucky parts, the parts that you don't want to do anyways in another language, they're all in Python, and it's fantastic. Using performance metrics to measure the success of a language is an arbitrary characteristic when deciding on smaller projects. Python is performant enough for most of the time. Projects like automation tools, data analytics, and more can be accomplished in Python, and plus you can always see out anything you don't. That is critical. I do not think we should have developers thinking they are better than others because they program in harder language instead of a baby language. Okay, first off, no. Remember, that is fact one. You can't do this, okay? Fact one of programming is to be able to tell people that you program in a language. Okay, this article is amazing. Started off on a high note and is really just emotionally bruising me. If that were true, the most pious software engineers would be using APL to develop their front-end frameworks. That is such a naive take, and I challenge those individuals to deliver a fully functioning product in the same time frame as a Python developer. But you must admit, the math on it is beautiful. This is pure math of beauty and correctness, okay? Can you argue with this? Can you argue that this is not the most beautiful code you've ever seen in your lifetime? Probably not. Okay? Probably not, child, in your little baby language. Python is not the best language for every project, and I would not recommend using Python for high-performance applications or larger projects. Python's strength lies in its efficiency during development rather than in raw performance. I actually like that take. You're doing a small program, you need to get some shit done. This is why I'm fine with also JavaScript or Python. Like, learn one loosey-goose language and use it when you need to use it. You know what I mean? Attempting to optimize Python for speed leads to disappointment. Wow. And Python is designed to be fast to develop in and excels in that regard. This was really good. Thank you, Cameron. Whoever you are, Cameron. This was very, very nice. Okay? This was very, very nice. GitHub, LinkedIn, email, go for it. I actually like this. I like this. I think this was a fair take. I think this is a good take, which is that Python is filled with a bunch of crazy features, but when it comes to something small, something that's easy, something that's well-defined, Python can be a quick W. When you need to just get something done, just get it done. I think that we've all heard this exact same thing over and over again. And so what about PyThreadlock? What about Threadlock? But it's so much more fun to spend 3 days thinking about your type hierarchy than actually doing any work. There is something that's really frustrating about, I love types. I'm a guy that loves types. It's the reason why I don't love Elixir, is that I don't want to do Elixir because I like types. I just like types. I'm a type guy. I will always be a type guy, but I can see the benefit more and more in the sense that why you'd want to use Python for something fast. The reason why I'm starting to become more of a Python curious person over TypeScript is that TypeScript has all these benefits, but TypeScript, you can't just distribute TypeScript, right? Like if you write a little TypeScript thing to do some do some like basic transformations, do like a little script, and you want to give it to someone to go run it, you have to be like, okay, but by the way, can you please make sure that you also have installed TS Node so that way you can run it on Node? And they're like, what the hell is TS Node? And you're like, okay, just use Deno, right? Just use the other, not Node. Oh, you don't know what Deno is? So Deno is a runtime written in Rust. Have you heard about Rust? So anyways, Rust is actually a statically typed high performance language that is both a systems language and really a general purpose. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're talking about Python, and no one knows what the hell you're talking about, because that's just not how it works. I'm not saying Python's great either, okay? Because Python, you're like, oh, you just need this library, and then that library just F's your entire system, right? Both suck, but I'm not sure which one sucks more. I don't know. The name is Docker Shitogen.